This is a ManeHustle Media podcast.
When people ask me, what is Black Radical Queer Podcast? I tell them that BRQ is a show for Black queer folks to tell our own stories on our own terms. So it's a show where we're not objects or sidekicks or props or any of those things. We are the subjects. And so we're the narrators of our own stories, as we should be. And that's radical in a world that seeks to silence us every chance they get.
All the way from the A, you listen to My Favorite Lesbian on BRQ.
Hey, stay locked in with your favorite lesbian on Black Radical Queer. Yeah.
Hey y'all, this is Javia Nicole, aka Your Favorite Lesbian, and you're listening to Black Radical Queer Podcast, our stories on our own terms. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Black Radical Queer Podcast. Today I am joined by my wife. I'll allow her to introduce herself for those of you who are newer to the podcast, and then we will get into our conversation.
Hola, ¿qué tal? It's your girl, Courtney, aka the wife of Javia. I'm back in the flesh. I know y'all miss me. I miss you. All right, babe, let's do this.
Oh gosh, that's not really an introduction, but...
Oh, I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm lesbian, I'm married to Javia, the host of this show. I'm from California, met her in Atlanta, made her fall in love, yada, yada, yada. Now we back at it again and on the West Coast.
An introduction is like about yourself?
What? I
What?
like long walks on the beach. I like video games. I love sports junkie over here.
You do not like long walks on the beach.
Okay, I like short walks on the pier. I have a dog named Luna. She's pretty cool. I got siblings, parents, all that.
What? Okay, that's enough of that.
Anything else y'all want to know, hit me in my DMs.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Anyway, it's not like you know her social media name, but if you want to slide in her DMs, her name is Court of Love on Instagram.
With a 3 instead of E.
Yeah.
I'm ghetto.
So it's Court of and then Love, but a 3 instead of a E. For everyone interested in sliding or doing cartwheels into her DMs, okay?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about travel, and more specifically traveling as Black queer people. But I wanted to start out by, each of us just kind of talking about our individual experiences with travel and just like traveling growing up, or how we even became interested in traveling, because it's something that we both enjoy. But just to give like some background. So you can go first.
Well, thank you, my lady. My love of travel comes from my parents. Both of them are transplants from the South to the West Coast. My father worked for Greyhound pretty much most of my life. I think he's in his 28th year, 29th year, and I'm 30. So, most of his life. And just when we were kids, he would take us on the road with him everywhere, free ride. So he would take us to, when we lived out here, he would take us to Mexico, Arizona, take us up north, the Bay Area. We would go back and forth to Georgia. And then as we got older, started going to Mexico, Canada, things like that. And my parents traveled to, out of the country a lot as well. So I've always, had the privilege of seeing what it looks like to travel a lot. And it's kind of always been in me. When I went to college, I did a study abroad in Argentina. And that was pretty awesome. I lived down there for 4 months. It's always been in me. And it's something I love to do. I'd rather starve than to not be able to travel for a few months. So, make sacrifices where we can. But, What about you, lover?
Wow. Okay. Growing up, my experience with travel, I did not do any international travel or anything like that. My experience was with primarily road trips. So, I like to travel. I love to travel. My family is a family that loves to travel, but we oftentimes it would be, by bus or by car. I didn't fly for the first time until I was maybe 14 or 15. So, but prior to that, yeah, we would take road trips. So we would go like in between, a lot of times in between Florida and Georgia. So just on the road back and forth between like Atlanta and Orlando, places like Cocoa, Florida, Daytona, D-Land, just traveling, and then South Georgia. So yeah, we travel kind of more locally or regionally, I guess I should say. And as I got older, or just as I grew up, I mean, I got some opportunities to travel like with school. Like we went to like Tennessee, the Tennessee Aquarium. It's like everybody who went to school in the region pretty much like did a school field trip to Tennessee Aquarium. That was the thing to do.
Was that before the Georgia Aquarium was built?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was well before. Yeah. That was well before the Georgia Aquarium. So at the time, the Tennessee Aquarium was like the aquarium, like the biggest one in the region, and now Georgia one is. But yeah, so we went there. I went to places like North Carolina, South Carolina. But so a lot of my travel was regional through my childhood and up until college. I ended up going to Charlotte with when I went to Clayton State, I was in their honors program, and we went to Charlotte. I don't even remember why. I think we had some kind of competition there, but I just remember loving it. So yeah, so I mean, I did a lot of regional travel. It wasn't until adulthood for me that I got to travel like outside of the region. Sometimes like business travel and sometimes leisure travel. So I, but I will say like growing up, I definitely saw like my family travel. My mom and my aunt, like part of their childhood was spent, childhood and teen years, part of them growing up was spent up north, so like in Boston and Jersey. And so they would go, especially my mom and my grandma would go there a lot, like go to visit, because my grandfather lived in Boston, and we have cousins and stuff in Jersey. So they would hop on the bus, like hop on Greyhound and do that long ride. But yeah, I mean, the longest trip I had taken was to Chicago when I was like 14 or 15. We flew up there and we rode the bus back. So up until that point, that was like the furthest outside my region I had been. And riding the bus coming back, we got to go through a lot of different states and stuff like that. But that was like the extent of my travel up until adulthood, when I took a road trip with my best friend. So I got to see like pretty much the entire East Coast. And then I started doing some traveling with my now wife, but we weren't married at the time. So yeah, it's a lot of just growing up. A lot of my travel was regional, and then it was kind of like expanded to the East Coast in general. But it wasn't until the past few years that I did any international travel. So,
I want to give a shout out real quick, because I mentioned my father and how him working, for Greyhound has helped me see the country. So just a shout out to him. Because of him, I've seen most of the states in the U.S. The ones that I haven't seen are ones that don't matter, and I probably couldn't point to on a map. So like, I've never been to Nebraska, but I also don't care.
Wow.
But I've been to most of everywhere else in the United States that matters.
Wow. What if I have listeners in Nebraska like, well, dang, her wife just dissed Nebraska? Well, look, don't mind her. Can't really take her nowhere, even though she like to travel. Yeah, can't really take her nowhere.
Why would I go to Nebraska for corn?
Oh my God. Let Nebraska be great.
I actually have cousins in Nebraska.
See, that's a reason to go to Nebraska. Oh. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, I will say that even though I didn't have like a family member that worked for Greyhound, Greyhound did make the region definitely accessible to us, because at that time there was that I was aware of, there was like no mega bus or any of that kind of stuff. Good old Greyhound. So we would hop on Greyhound to go to Florida, to go, just like around the region. And it wasn't until my probably early 20s that I ever took mega bus for the first time. But I relied a lot on the bus and then car, for the travel. But in terms of, so that's just more so like traveling as a child and a teenager and a young adult. And when I think about being like Black and queer and traveling, at the time that didn't really factor much into my travel, because initially I was a child and I was traveling with family. So it just really wasn't something I thought about. I was just like, I'm just going, wherever I'm going. As I got older and it started to become something I considered, it's still not something I thought about very deeply, particularly when I was single. Because traveling as a single person doesn't have the same implications as traveling with a partner, especially a same-sex partner. So it's just not something I honestly really thought about until adulthood. But once I became an adult and got into like, relationships, then there will be times where I might like travel with a partner. And now this wasn't like a whole bunch of times because, I've like dated and stuff like that. But when I think about like my major relationships, there hasn't been a whole lot of them. So I haven't had like a ton of opportunities to travel with a partner. One partner that I traveled with was a guy. So I had, assumed hetero privilege or whatever. So that was like nothing. No, like I didn't have to consider anything. And I was also traveling in Georgia. So it was like, I didn't stand out. Nothing was like special about me or whatever. But once
something's always special about you, baby.
Oh Lord. But once I traveled for the first time with a same-sex partner, then that kind of came with some other stuff. But I'll circle back to that. Courtney, did you like have any experience traveling with a partner?
Prior to you, let me go through my Rolodex.
God.
Honestly, I was a virgin. I never dated no one before.
Oh my God. Okay, can we be serious?
I'm gonna say no. Nothing's coming to mind. I don't think. No. Okay. I'll walk that back. I went to Puerto Rico with a woman who I was dating.
Listen, if any of Courtney's exes listen to my podcast and she's traveled with you and she out here flexing, you can go ahead and call her out. All right, that's cool,
bro. I'm trying to think because honestly,
because local and regional travel counts too.
Before you, sweetie, everything's a blur.
Oh my God,
these people don't even matter compared to you, baby. So honestly,
okay. This episode is not about you spitting game.
I'm not spitting game. I'm being dead.
This episode is about travel.
Okay. Let me walk it back. I'm not gonna walk it back. I'm saying like her.
You just don't remember outside of her.
Her no. I'm trying to think of all these chicks. Okay. We've been together so damn long, John. I can't really think. You want me to think back like 8 years?
Okay. So so you had the Puerto Rico trip.
Yeah. So but I was with a group of gays.
That's true.
So hey, shout out to all y'all gays.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. So it wasn't like we were gonna stand out as a lesbian couple. We weren't a couple, but we was all gay. So I guess we was all going down. So I really didn't have to think about it that way.
I think I'm trying to remember like when was the first time that I actually thought about. You know what? Okay, I remember actually. Okay, so the first time that I even considered like my sexual orientation in regards to me traveling with a partner, because definitely the first time I ever thought of it was with a partner, because I'm primarily femme presenting. So when I'm solo, I don't really have any issues, particularly if I'm like femme presenting. Now, if I'm not, then that's a different situation. But so I didn't really have to think about it. But I remember I was actually planning to go out of town with an ex, who wasn't my ex at the time, but definitely an ex. Definitely an ex. Anyway, so we were planning to go out of town, and I just remember I'm like, okay, well, we're in the South.
Yep.
And even though I've been out and we go out, in Atlanta with no issue, I'm thinking about, okay, if we're going to like anywhere else, if we're going to like South Georgia or Florida or wherever, because we traveled to South Georgia and to Florida, I'm just like, how are we going to be received? Do I have to worry about anything? Should I like kick it like we're not together? Should I act like this is my friend? So that was the first time that I ever even asked myself those questions. And at the time I was probably 21. Mm-hmm. So up until that point, I had not had to ask myself those questions. But once I was around 21-ish, early 20s or whatever, then I had to consider like, dang, are people going to look at us weird? Are we going to be targeted? All those types of things. So, but I never thought about it prior to that. But as I've gotten older and I've gotten into the relationship that I'm in now, over the time that we've been together, is something I've definitely thought about much more deliberately than I used to. I think for one, because I just didn't do a ton of travel with exes. Like Courtney is one of the people that I actually enjoy traveling with. And with my ex who I was thinking about like, oh, what about this? What about that? I actually was not a huge fan of traveling with her. So I can only think off the top of my head of 2 trips that we took in our 3 years together. And they may have been others, but I do not remember. I only remember 2 specifically. And I remember one time I definitely did not enjoy myself with her. Like I enjoyed kind of like everything else except for her. And then the other time I just remember feeling kind of awkward too. So I didn't really have to think about it for real until I got with Courtney, and then we both like travel. So it's something we start to talk about more extensively. So since we've been together, is it something that you've had to like think about, just like us traveling as a couple?
Well, yeah, I mean, I ain't trying to fight, so I try to avoid fighting. So yeah, I mean, especially now I have, this, I want to protect you at all costs. So I just want to make sure. I mean, but since we've been together, marriage equality has passed and things have changed a tiny bit. So I still can't say that it's something like, man, it's not more about us being gay. It's more so about us being black. Like, I'm not going to Alabama, not because I'm afraid we'll get gay bashed, but because I'm afraid we'll get lynched for being black. You know what I mean? It's not
right.
Being gay has never been like the most oppressing thing in my life. It's always been. It's never been the thing that's caused me to be afraid of going to a place. Until. Oh, I'll say no. I mean that's true, but it's always coupled with my blackness. Like, for instance, going to Argentina, I'm thinking, okay, are there black people there? Number one. The answer is hell no. There was like 4 that I counted the whole time I was there. 2 of them was probably American. And then, are they gay people? Now, they're very gay friendly, or they were when I was there, so being black was the thing, that stood out. Then when we were getting married and we're looking for a place to get married, we had to look and see, we want to do a destination wedding. Where is it okay for us to get married? And we ran into an issue there in Mexico. So,
right. Yeah, I would say for me, well, I definitely understand like this, looking at like, you being gay versus you being black and kind of like what the implications of that are for traveling. Because I've always wanted to travel internationally, it's something I've thought about both. Like they definitely are intertwined for me when I consider like what places I want to go to internationally. It's not something that I thought about when I was just mainly traveling domestically. I don't know. I did think about like me being black and going to places. And are there going to be any black folks there? Like that was kind of my litmus test, but as I kind of think about traveling more internationally and stuff like that, I definitely think about, okay, me traveling as a black woman, me traveling as a queer woman. And like Courtney was talking about when we were planning our wedding, I feel like for me, that was probably the most striking example of us for real having to be like, all right, so can we do this gay shit there? That type of thing. Like, can we do this? But the thing is, that was a situation where I was more concerned about our sexual orientation than our race in regards to us getting married, in a destination. And so that was kind of different because I was definitely used to having to consider both. When I'm like, oh, okay, can we go to this international place? But I will say, as I think about international travel, it has more so been you know, are they like, hell no to that gay shit? Because I don't really desire to go to places where there are no black people.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so the race thing hasn't been at the forefront for me. More, you know, as much as like the sexual orientation.
Yeah, but in Mexico, you know, we have examples of people who we know got married there, so being black and getting married, and we already knew that wasn't going to be an issue.
But we didn't know about being gay and getting married there. And even if it was legal, you know, like Mexico, you know, has different, you know, areas and stuff. So it's like, okay, well, are we going to actually be able to legally get married there? And, you know, kind of the steps that we took to go through that process, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and also when I'm traveling to predominantly brown countries, I don't worry as much because, you know, they'll jack a white person faster than they'll jack me. And white people tend to do shit like go off where they ain't supposed to be going, and that's how they begin in trouble.
Yeah.
So I never really worry about myself that way.
Yeah, white folks do white people shit like around the world. That's a global thing. So, so yeah, I can't say that I really stress about that. Even though I do know anti-blackness is global, and I do know that colorism is global, and I am dark skinned. So like, I don't know. I mean, I do think it's like, I think about all of this stuff, but the reality is I don't weigh them all equally for every place.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the way it is I don't stress about it because I eliminate it before I can stress about it. Like, for instance, I've never been to Jamaica and I have no interest in going there just because of how they treat gay people. So it's not like I'm stressing over, oh, where can I go in Jamaica?
I'm trying to go to a resort in Jamaica.
See,
Courtney don't want to go. It's a specific, no, there's a specific resort that I want to go to. That is literally it. Like, it's a resort. I know other gay ass people who have gone there. So who go there on a regular basis. So it's really just that resort. I don't need to go anywhere else. I'm good.
You know, with my infinite butchness or studness, as you want to call it. You know,
who calls it that? Talk about as you want to call it. I don't call you a stud.
I know, but for me, if I'm uncomfortable, I tend to like fake femme it up, and I don't want to have to do that. I mean, I have to do that here. If I go into a restroom and I don't want people staring at me or, you know, trying to call me out or some shit, I'll fake femme it up. So I don't want to have to do that for an entire vacation because I'm worried I'm gonna get my ass beat.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I think that's another thing to like consider too, depending on your presentation. Like if you are someone who people read, and honestly what it boils down to is it's really transphobia. It's like if you're someone who people read as like you're a woman but they read you as masculine, or you're a man or whatever and they read you as feminine, then you know that kind of brings on its own stuff. But that really is transphobia. I mean, it boils down to transphobia. But yeah, so that is another thing to consider. I mean, I recognize that I mainly present as femme, so I don't, there's the assumed, like assumed straightness or whatever that comes along with that. So there are certain things I don't have to think about as much, or it's like I know I can navigate the space and be femme and it not be like completely foreign to my presentation, versus that is not Courtney's like most comfortable presentation. Not like she can't do it, but still.
I'll put the titties on in a second if I gotta survive.
Oh Lord. But that's not, if you think about what are you going to be most comfortable in, well, I only want to say it like that because it's not like I'm most comfortable in film presentation, but I can be comfortable in it. It's not like, oh my God, so yeah, it's not like I have to only do it for survival. I mainly do it for convenience, honestly. But yeah, so I was doing some research because I just wanted to see, what's out there for like Black queer folks who are traveling and stuff. And the thing is, when I did my research, I kept finding resources for Black people and resources for gay people, but I didn't really find anything for folks who are at that intersection. But something I did see was there was this article, and they're just talking about traveling, and they're talking about things that queer folks consider when they're preparing to travel or whatever. And some of these questions I have asked myself, I'm going to share them with you all. But then there was like there was one question that I actually have never considered. And I'm just like, dang. I mean, it makes sense, but I never even thought about it. And probably just because of the places that we've gone to. But anyway, so these are the questions. And Courtney, I'm curious to know if you've considered any of these. All right, so the first question is, what's the LGBT rights situation of the destination? So what are the rights looking like?
Yeah.
Should I hide my sexuality? What is safety like for openly LGBT travelers? So far, yes to both. What organizations are there for my safety? What is the attitude of the police? Now,
no, I never thought about that.
I never thought about the police.
The police are worldwide.
Right. So I never thought about the police thing because I'm just not about that life. I don't trust the police, and I don't trust them to protect me. So when I think about the police in regards to my safety, it is not like them keeping me safe. You know what I mean? Like if I consider like, oh, what's police? No, it's like, I assume that like basically police presence will make me feel less safe in a place. It's not going to make me feel more safe.
Because I don't think about the police, but I do feel safer when I'm traveling and the police are there. I don't know why. I think it's an American privilege thing. Like, I feel like they don't want the headline of Americans dying on their watch. So I feel like they're there for our protection as Americans.
Okay.
Even though we're black. But, for a lot of people, when they see American traveling, they see money. Mm-hmm. Even though we ain't rich. But, they see that, and I feel like the police guards are not there to protect the native people to that land. They're there to protect the money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the same here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, we're the poor people here. So
right.
We're the blacks. But what's eye opening in Argentina is the police don't do shit. So I wasn't afraid of them, but I also knew they weren't gonna help because they didn't do shit. Niggas are stealing, just running down the street past the cop.
So what were the cop doing?
They're just walking around. I don't know. You'd have to do something really crazy to get chased down by a cop in Argentina. I don't know. They just have
it's not worth my life, dog.
Really,
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
This is Buenos Aires, so I don't know how it is for the whole country, but even like the ambulances, they're coming down the street, sirens wailing, and no one gets out the way. They just sitting in traffic. It's different. I don't know. Yeah, but the cops definitely weren't doing shit down there. I mean, which I'm okay with. I feel like, obviously here we're over policed, and it's not worth death or injury to chase someone over stealing a bag of chips. It's really not that deep. Right. And I think that's kind of like the attitude they had when I was there. So I don't know if it's still like that, but that's how it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the police. I mean, I don't feel safer.
Now, if we were to go to Brazil, I might actually think about, because they're down there beating the shit out of black folks. So, how they gonna know we American if we, if we look like the people who are there? Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, once they hear us talk, but
yeah, but see, that's the thing. See, it's like those kind of considerations when you're traveling. Stop it. Anyway, so.
Joe, why you say you stop?
Okay, this is the issue with trying to record with you.
Wow.
Courtney is a fidgeter. It's like she can't be still. She's fidgeting with things. Wow. She don't know what to do.
Put my business in the goddamn street.
Anyway,
wow.
All right, so the next question is, what LGBT resources are there, like websites, newspapers, etc.? I've never thought of that.
Never. I'm not going down to read your goddamn newspaper.
Right. Let me go pick up the local gay weekly. Right. So I can see what's hot in the streets. Like, absolutely not. Honestly. Now, okay, no shade to anybody who, if that's how you roll, cool, but that's just not how I roll. If I'm on vacation, I give a damn about the newspaper. I don't even read a newspaper here. I do, read the news and stuff, but I ain't checking for no newspaper.
What's interesting? I've never thought about going to, a gay resort or a gay destination like Dinah Shore or the gay cruises.
Olivia, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't like gays that much.
You know what it is?
I don't want to be around just a bunch of gays for an extended period of time.
Okay, I think it's a couple things. For one, when I travel to places, a lot of times I want to kind of engage with the locals. Not saying there aren't local gay folks, but things that are like that gay, it's just super touristy. Like if it's just this is a gay thing. The other thing is very white.
Yep.
That's
white.
the main thing. When I see all these like these gay trips and resorts,
let me take it back. And not that I don't want to hang out with gays. It's white gays.
Yeah, no, accurate. Like, I don't want to be outnumbered by white gay folks. I absolutely do not. That does not sound appealing to me. And so when I see like the gay cruises or resorts or whatever, they look white as hell, and I'm just like, that ain't my ministry. Like, I want to be around. If I'm gonna be, I'm down to be around queer folks, but they need to be of color. Like,
you know what it's like when you're the only black woman in a room full of white gay guys?
Oh my god,
it's horrible.
It really is.
Horrible. Okay?
It's really bad.
It's like, oh my gosh, hey girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they want to start doing all this extra shit. Bitch, sit down.
Right. It is pretty terrible. And it's not much
dance.
And it's not much better if you're like surrounded by white gay women. So
I don't know what that's like.
It's not good. Okay. So I just don't want to. I don't desire to be surrounded by whiteness of any kind, anywhere I go. My only exception is Iceland, because I went to Iceland and I saw how it was and it was cool. So, but I traveled with black women, so I still wasn't like surrounded by white folks 24/7. But anyway, we digress. But yeah, that is a good point though. I know people who specifically seek out like gay specific travel resources or whatever, and that's fine. And I also know there are things for gay people of color, or that people of color more often frequent. So like what's it called? I want to say Splash, like in Houston. It might be called Splash, y'all.
There's something in Miami. What's it called?
Miami Heat. Yeah. I think it's called Miami Heat. Or Sweet Heat or something.
Something like that.
Something in Miami that's gay as hell. And I know all the black gays be going there. And then I think it's called Splash in Houston, which is similar to Miami Heat or whatever, which is more so like a lesbian thing. And then there's, Black Gay Pride in Atlanta. But yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but maybe we should try it one day. Babe.
Try what?
Let's try it, going to a gay destination thing.
Not if it's going to be white as hell.
Saying we got each other's back.
Okay, so anyway,
wow.
Not if it's gonna be gay as hell. We don't need to do that. All right, so the next question they asked is, where is the LGBT scene?
Nope. Never.
Yeah, honestly and truly, I have never thought about it, because the thing is, when I think about the places I've traveled, I've either been like with a group. Like if I'm with a group, if I'm with my people, we can just chill. Like, we are the party. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't look for the gay club or whatever. If it's just me and Courtney, we're not trying to go to no damn club. Like, that's just not what we're trying. We're like, oh, what are the local like food spots or like the local attractions? We're trying to do the local stuff, honestly. Like, not saying we don't do anything touristy, but we're just really like interested kind of in the culture of the place, and not saying that LGBT stuff isn't a part of the culture, but I just don't really seek that out. Like, that's not my primary reason for traveling. I think that's the other thing too. I don't look at myself first and foremost as a gay traveler. So when I travel, it's like I think about it. I think about it in regards to my sexual orientation, just about me and Courtney being together and what that looks like. Like, will that create any issues for us? But that's really it. I don't think about it like I have to seek out these specific gay things, if that makes sense. I only think about it from the perspective of, me and my wife are traveling together. Are we going to be safe? But then the next question that I found, this is the last one from this particular list. I never thought about this, and it's crazy that I never thought about it, because since safety, when I think about like my sexuality and traveling, safety is kind of like the main way that it presents itself. So I'm surprised I never thought of this. But it says, if I'm traveling with a partner, do we need to worry about booking one bed or two, or being more than friends in public? Now, the more than friends thing, absolutely. That is the main thing I think about. Like, do we have to pretend like that we're not a couple? We have to act like that's just a homie? Because I'm pretty, like, even when we're just kind of out and about navigating the world, and people say, oh, is that your sister's? And I'm like, no, that's my wife. Like, I'd be quick to be like, nah, that is not my sister. That's not my cousin. That is not the homie. Like, we cool or whatever, but that's my damn wife. Like, but so I do think about it like that. Like, okay, is this a place where I don't need to be doing that? I never thought about the bed thing.
Me neither. Because if you on a girls trip, girls be sleeping in the same bed together. So,
and that's true. And so I think
Maybe if I was a gay dude.
Right. Maybe if we were men, then that would be a different type of situation. But it's not unusual for women to share a room, even if they're not together. You know what I mean? But that's because people don't take women seriously. You know, like people don't, oh, they could be a couple. That's the thing, is those microaggressions where people assume that we're not a couple. That's what, you know.
We platonically cuddle. But you know, it's funny at our resort for the wedding that people were trying to get two beds and they were just pushing them together, remember? Mm-hmm. So we had my cousin and her brother booked a room together, and they got to the room and it was one big bed pushed together.
Yeah, they had
pushed together. Was it two doubles pushed together? Yeah,
pushed together.
You're like, what the hell?
Right. Like, why y'all got the beds pushed together like this? So that was interesting.
Everybody a couple.
Mm-hmm. You get a boo. You get a boo.
Right, what?
But yeah, so that was interesting. I mean, but we never, I mean, with that situation, I feel like it went pretty well.
Sorry.
We didn't have any issues in terms of folks being like, y'all sisters. I'm like, we're here to get married. And I mean, and it was a pretty public situation. So I never felt any issues though, in terms of our sexual orientation in Mexico. I don't feel like we got any kind of crazy, you know, had anything crazy happen to us because of that. But anyway, as I was doing my research, one of the things I do wish though that I had seen more stuff that specifically addressed Black queer travelers. I looked on Black and Abroad, and they had like a brief mention of like gay couples, but I just didn't see any resource that really specifically catered to Black queer folks. And then something else I would like to see is for trans folks, because I think too, especially for Black trans women who are being fucking slaughtered, that it would be important to know what the landscape is like for different places they're traveling to. I did see like a site where they talked about kind of like, you know, what things are looking like in different places. And it's basically from people's experiences. So it was called Equal Decks. So it's kind of, they compile news and stories and stuff from around the world. And they have like a map where it shows different categories. Like it'll show like, is homosexuality illegal? Is it illegal to be trans? They just do like a whole breakdown. Like, can gay couples adopt children? Can they get married? Like, you know, is there marriage equality? So they break down all that stuff on there. And then the other one that I saw is called 76crimes.com. And they focus on the 76 countries where homosexuality is still illegal. I think it's more than 76, but yeah, but they focus on that and kind of like news stories on that. Now, personally, I mean, it's real stuff and it's stuff we need to know, but it was low-key depressing. It was just so, yeah, it was very disheartening to see all those damn news stories. So, you know, in terms of like your mental health and your self-care, there's your warning right there. That it was, yeah, when I looked at it, I was like, dang, you know, it was kind of depressing. But there could be some helpful resources. And then there's also for the gays who for some reason want to come here. I don't know why you want to come to the U.S., but I do have listeners who are not in the U.S. So look, y'all, I don't know why you want to come here, but if you so desire, then the U.S. State Department has like a site with travel tips for LGBT travelers. So you can check that out. I'm not endorsing any of these websites. I don't know them like that. It's just what came up when I was trying to do my research to find resources that were specific to Black queer travelers. And I didn't find any, but I found stuff specific to LGBT travelers and Black travelers. So if you do some research and you find something that I was not able to find, then share it with me. I'll greatly appreciate it because, yeah, I wasn't seeing nothing. So, yeah. But I think that for the most part, well, I mean, I can only speak from, you know, my own experience and just the places that I've desired to go. I haven't had to worry so much about being Black, but I do worry about like, I do consider like, is this a safe place for me to go as a part of a same-sex couple type of situation? Because I just don't desire to go to a bunch of places with a bunch of white folks. So it just kind of knocks that particular concern out. Not saying it's not a concern, period, because depending on where you go, it's going to be a concern. But I just, for the most part, places I desire to go is not a concern. But the sexuality piece is. And I just, yeah, I never thought about the bed thing. I never considered. And we're really, maybe it is because we're women, you know?
What was I going to say? But, You know, it's not something we thought about, like being black going to Mexico. I didn't, but right before we left, we were followed in the gift shop. Mm-hmm. Trying to buy something, this dude's following us around. I'm like, oh, okay, what the fuck? After we just dropped stacks in your fucking resort.
Right. Yeah, we definitely got that reminder that anti-blackness is global. Right at the end of our trip after we spent all this damn money. But the thing was, I mean, the whole trip we had not had that issue. And I mean, I didn't know, like, okay, is our coordinator going to treat us different because we're both women and we're black or whatever? Nothing, like, no issues. I mean, she got everything together. She did her job professionally. People didn't treat us any differently. And then it was at the very end in the gift shop where this guy was following us. So that was like the reminder. And I got pulled aside, going through security. And I'm like, okay, out of all these people, it's always my black ass with the dreads who gets pulled over at the last minute. Like, I made it all the way through. And then right before we were about to board the plane, they pulled me aside. And I'm like, it never fails.
You think that was... In that case, you think it was just because you were carrying a broom, or you think just because you were black?
But I made it through that far with it. I made it through all the way to that point with it.
No, I know, but I'm saying if they do a last minute check.
I think for me,
they flag you the first check?
I don't know, but
basically letting them know to check you right before you get on the plane.
I don't know, but I just know for me, I've experienced that happen to me like multiple times, to where I don't know if that was just circumstantial, or if it's like, you know, like a ongoing theme because of,
Now I get you. I mean, before when I had locks, I got pulled up to the side every single time.
See,
I traveled.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I used to not get pulled to the side. All of a sudden, I like almost every time I get pulled aside. So yeah, so that I'm just like, I can't say if in that one situation it was only because of what I had with me. When it happens so often, I don't know. Yeah. You know, it's kind of difficult.
I just remember in that situation when we first went there, I was like, this is the easiest fucking security ever. But they put stickers on the back of our passports, and I feel like your sticker was different. I mean, it could have been because not because you were carrying a weird shape. I don't know.
I have no idea, but I just get tired of that. So I can't say for sure, and I've just been pulled aside so many times that I can't make the assumption that it's like some other circumstantial thing. I used to be like, oh, maybe it's this. Oh, maybe it's that. Like, but now I'm just like, nah, it's too often now in too many different places for me to just feel like it's a coincidence. Yeah. Like, it's been international. It's been across the country. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's LA or Florida or Georgia, DC, and Mexico. So at this point, I'm like, nah, motherfucker. You know, I can't like in good conscience just attribute it only to what I happen to have with me that day, you know, but I could totally be wrong, but that's just my experience.
Gotcha.
All right. So that is basically it. I wanted to, for us to just be able to have a conversation about traveling, as Black queer folks. And I want to know kind of what it's like for trans people, because I think that, if you're quote unquote stealth, then that's a different, experience than if you're not. And I think for people who are not, trans folks, quote unquote, passing, that their experience would be different. I think that basically the things that you experience kind of in your day to day, you experience similar things when you're traveling. Like, you don't suddenly, your experience doesn't suddenly, do a 180 just because you're traveling. But I just wonder if there are like any additional, hardships that trans folks experience, because it's already a lot just being a Black person traveling, or just being an LGBT person traveling. So
I wanted to, before we wrap, to bring up Wanderlust Collective. It's kind of on a hiatus right now because we're trying to buy a house, but if someone else wants to take the reins, holler at me. But the Wanderlust Collective was created right after we got married. It was such a lit party. A bunch of Black folks in Mexico turned out, scaring white folks left and right. It was just such a lit feeling, and it was so carefree and amazing that we planned 2 trips. After we went to Palm Springs and Vegas, the next trip is supposed to be to New Orleans. It's supposed to be in November, but right now we're just kind of waiting to see what the housing situation is going to be like for us. trying to buy a house. About to have to fight our apartment complex in a fist fight. And a
that's
legal
a whole
fight.
other situation.
Yeah, so it's a lot going on. But as soon as we get that sorted out, we're gonna start planning the next trip. So also slide in my DMs if you're interested in partying with a bunch of lit black folks in another city. But the thing that we were doing was getting like renting a house and just like, you know, having a 3-day house party or whatever. But going to New Orleans, I don't feel right doing that. So I'm trying to think of the best way to, you know, have this party in New Orleans without contributing to the gentrification of New Orleans and what they're going through down there.
Right.
Because in Palm Springs and Vegas, it's not really the same situation.
Right.
So if you guys know a lit way to get lit without, you know, like in one spot without having to get like a bunch of different hotel rooms, that would be nice, you know.
It would be good to be good to be able to support the locals.
Right.
I mean,
if there's a black local who rents out their space,
yeah,
you know, we're interested in that too.
I ain't trying to get no white person no money for no fucking Airbnb in New Orleans. It's gonna be a no.
Yeah.
If you're not a local, I want a local black person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's
not
their
no rich black person,
right,
who moved from out of the no.
Right, but a local, like regular ass black person who is trying to, you know, let's say they rent out their space, you know, as an Airbnb, and they're just trying to, you know, make some money. It would be great to support them. I'm not trying to support somebody who brought their ass to New Orleans, bought a property and just to rent it out, and they are not contributing anything to New Orleans. Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the issue we're running into. When we went, we stayed at a hostel, but like with it being
grown for that shit now.
First of all, first and foremost, too fucking grown for that. And look, no shade to our hostels. I do think that they can really serve a good purpose. I think too, it's a little different traveling as a couple than as a single person. I think at this point, if I was like single, I would still be a little bit more open to hostels, but as a married woman,
no, but I mean, legitimately speaking, we are out of the age range. Usually they put like an age limit on hostels, and we're 30 now. Back then, I think it was like 26, maybe. It was the age limit. Like, some of them have like, you gotta be in, you know, college age, 21,
right,
22.
because it's supposed to be, you know, in a certain financial place.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that for folks who are young and broke, it's an excellent option. Because the hostel, because the hostel that we stayed, I mean, it wasn't bad. They had, you know, good food. They had a pool. They, you know, and people got to mingle and meet folks from all over the place. Cool. I'm too old for that shit. So I want to be, I'm gonna need like me and my wife to have our own private everything because we is grown. All right.
Grown.
So I like to do grown things. So I can't be having no shared communal nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, if we can go and support, you know, some local black folks, I would really love it because we're able to do that in terms of like where we eat and where we, you know, shop and stuff. So if we can do that where we stay, fantastic, because we had a great time.
Yeah, we get groceries, we cook for each other. Yeah, shit is litty.
Right.
It's
so
a
we
great
do,
way.
And we experience the food in the place too. But you know, we kind of make it more cost effective by typically doing like maybe our breakfast together and stuff, and then you know we still
have snacks,
get to be foodies and explore the area. So have drinks. We play random games. Never have I ever. We get to learn things about each other. Yeah, we did go out in Vegas.
We just relaxed.
Yeah, it was hot as hell.
Yeah. But the purpose of the Wanderlust Collective, you know, kind of molded from that lit vacation feeling to being able to go on vacation and just be completely comfortable. Like, because you're surrounded, and for the most, so far it's only been black women. Not everybody's queer who's gone, but yeah, it's been black women, and just like being able to wrap your hair up and no one's fucking questioning you, being able to do, you know what I mean?
Nobody trying to randomly touch your hair.
Right, no one's trying to touch your hair or any of the beauty routines or what you gotta do with your, you know, your hair routine before you go to bed at night.
Look, nobody looks at you crazy if you have to do your twist for your twist out.
Right. It's just not having to explain, just being a free black woman, like, on a vacation. And so, like, in Palm Springs, we didn't even go nowhere. We stayed in the house, we talked, we watched TV, we were in the pool, jacuzzi, and cooking for each other. And just, like, that was just so fucking relaxing. Feels like a, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't have to be out and exploring and doing all this shit for it to be just, it's just, just take a deep breath and relax.
Yeah,
like,
that was more so like a retreat almost.
Yeah, like I don't have to explain shit to nobody. Everybody here knows me. We get it. You know what I mean? You don't have to know each other, but we get it. We get each other. So
yeah, that was the other thing too, because we had our meetup group that was like Black women, like a woke women meetup, and so I think it's kind of that same vibe where you don't have to know someone, but we just never had any drama because we can just all come together and have a good time. And that was the vibe that people got at our wedding. And our wedding was not just women. We did have, men and women, but we had all Black folks. And it was just everybody was like, oh man, it was so cool. Like our families came together with no issue. Our friends came together with no issue, and people were able to enjoy themselves. And so that's something that I want to experience more of, whether it's all women or it's just, all Black folks, or it's a mixture, because we have a mixture of, queer folks, straight folks. I mean, we had like a lot of Courtney's family and then a lot of my gay ass friends, but everybody, it was just all love. Like it was no issue. And we were able to just, not just kind of like coexist, but really enjoy our time with one another. And none of that stuff was an issue. It wasn't like they on that gay shit, like we're two women getting married. So, it was, but we didn't get any type of like crazy looks or just being tolerated. You know what I'm saying? You get to be with a group of people where you're not just being tolerated by white folks. You're not just being tolerated by straight folks, whatever. Just be your Black ass, gay ass, whatever self.
So you're right. So yeah, as soon as the next one is going to be, planned, gonna probably make an announcement on your BRQ pages too, just in case any of y'all want to join us. Be a great way to meet your favorite lesbian, Javi and Nicole, and your favorite lesbian's wife, Courtney. I'm not gonna tell you my middle name. But yeah, it's really cool, and I hope to actually meet some of your listeners maybe one day. But besides that, I'm excited to get out of this rut again, get moving, get traveling, get to meeting people, get to relaxing, and letting my hair down.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, of course, I always bring it back to us centering ourselves on BRQ. And I think that one of the ways that we can is by pursuing those things that we enjoy. And if travel is one of those things that you enjoy, then you being able to do that without stressing, without feeling like, can I be my full self in this place? And so if, it's something you want to do, then you can kind of like do your research. You can see what's going to be a good fit. You can talk to other Black queer folks about what their experience has been going to, different places. I definitely have no issue, like, giving feedback on places I've been, just so that you can make an informed decision for yourself about where you want to go, how you want to spend your hard-earned coins, and where you want to relax and have your vacation. So, yeah, I think it's something important. I don't think that it's mandatory that everybody, travel. I feel like that's kind of elitist. And I recognize it as a privilege, but if you want to travel, I feel like you should absolutely be able to, whether that is locally, regionally, domestically, or internationally. There's so many things that you can see. You don't have to have a passport, because that's some elitist shit for folks to be like, you need that. How many stamps you got? Okay. I hate that shit. So, I mean, I'm grateful to have mine, but I hate when people it's like a badge of honor type of thing. If if what's in your means is for you to travel locally, do it. One of the most beautiful places I've gone was in damn Georgia. I lived in Georgia. It was like maybe an hour and a half outside of Georgia. I think it's called Emmacola State Park. Beautiful waterfalls. So it's like you can just go somewhere that's local to you. Yeah. Even places out here. I've been to like a trail out here that was bomb, beaches out here. So you don't, travel isn't limited to, you don't have to go a certain distance for it to be considered travel.
Travel is technically defined as like 50 miles outside of or is it 20? I got to look up the definition, but it ain't far.
Right.
You're a tourist, when you just leave your town essentially.
Right. So driving distance or a bus, You're a tourist,
so learn about different places, see different things, if it makes you happy, do it.
One of the tips that that a friend of mine gave me was, because she travels a lot, and I was like, how do you travel? It's not like she's rich. So I was like, how do you travel so much? And she was like, oh, I just, I do my research and see places that are cheap to go to where, Black folks, don't have to worry about any safety stuff. And I just go. She'll just cop a ticket. So even if you see like Southwest got the $49 flight deals, or you see Megabus or Flixbus or whatever having the $9.99 tickets or $1 tickets on Megabus, or Greyhound having cheap tickets, or you just being like, you know what, I'm just gonna put some gas in the car and just ride. Whatever the case, you have that opportunity to go. And I encourage folks to pool their resources and go places together, because some of the places I've gone to, I would not have been able to do it without it being a collective effort, and us kind of helping one another to make that possible. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. We have to remember community care. So everything ain't, individual, isolated, whatever. We do have a responsibility to care for one another too. And that's one of the ways that we can do it is by pooling our resources to do the shit that we want to do. So, yeah. All right. I think that's been long enough, because it's been a kind of long episode.
Yeah. No, I've been enjoying this, baby. It's not been, we could keep going for another 2 hours.
Anyway, as usual.
Let the people know, Court of Love with a 3 on the end.
Oh, Lord.
Don't forget that for DM sliding. I do accept.
Wow. Court. So COURT of OF. Love, LOV 3.
3, nigga. Sorry, okay. I'm getting excited. Okay,
that's enough of that. So
hit us up about New Orleans. Any options besides gentrifying the neighborhood?
Okay.
Love you.
All right. So, anyway, I was trying to close out the episode before Courtney went in for her.
Wow.
For her.
Well, every other guest gets to sign off.
You had already did that.
And give out...
You just did it again. You already did that. All right. You already did that.
I'm leaving.
Okay. Goodbye. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening as usual. If you have any tips or anything, we're definitely down. If you have any notes on like your favorite places to travel as a Black queer person, I would love to know. Always looking for more places to go to. So you already know where to find me. I'm all in these streets. So you can slide in my DMs. You can hit me up on Facebook or whatever, and just give me the info so we can check out some more places. All right, y'all, that is it. And until next time, that's it. I don't have anything else to say, so bye, y'all.
Close.
Black Radical Queer is a ManeHustle Media podcast hosted by Javia Nicole. BRQ is produced and edited by Charmaine Fury, and the show's theme music was created by The Brothers Records. You can connect with us on Twitter or Instagram at Black Rad Queer. That's BLK RAD QWR. You can also connect with us on Facebook through the Black Radical Queer Podcast Facebook fan page or the BRQ discussion group. You can get Black Rad Queer merch on teespring.com/Black Rad Queer, BLK RAD QWR. And you can leave a voicemail, call in, ask a question, those types of things on the BRQ Google Voice line. And that number is 937-601-8647.
ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.